Okay, so we have some pretty serious breaking news. The Supreme Court has greenlit Donald Trump's ban on birthright citizenship in some parts of the country. So, if you're unaware, in January, the Trump administration passed an executive order stating that the children of undocumented immigrants born in America are not citizens. Now, this is very obviously unconstitutional, as the 14th Amendment literally says all people born in this country are U.S. citizens. So after the Trump administration passed this executive order, federal courts around the country ruled it as unconstitutional, and we had a nationwide ban for that reason. But today, the Supreme Court was able to greenlight that EO in some parts of the country by ruling that those federal courts that instituted the nationwide ban by saying it was unconstitutional do not have the jurisdiction or authority to institute nationwide bans and can only institute regional bans. So let me be clear, they didn't rule that Donald Trump's executive order banning birthright citizenship was constitutional. It's obviously not constitutional. It's in clear violation of the plain text of the 14th Amendment. They just simply ruled that the courts lower than them don't have the jurisdiction to implement a nationwide ban on the matter. So unless they rule that it's unconstitutional, it'll be indefinitely legal in some parts of the country.
We have an update on birthright citizenship, and I need y'all to be sat for this one. The Supreme Court ruled this morning that Trump's executive order can go into effect in some parts of the country for now. Stay with me here. Now, how is that even possible? Well, the Supreme Court struck down what is called nationwide injunctions, meaning district judges can no longer block national policies for everyone, unless the plaintiffs are formally representing a group, such as a class action lawsuit. Let me be clear. This decision was not about whether birthright citizenship was constitutional or not. Frankly, Trump probably knows that his executive order is not constitutional, which is why he went after nationwide injunctions instead. Trump essentially asked the Supreme Court whether federal judges can block his policies nationwide, rather than asking whether his executive order was constitutional. What happens now? We're still waiting to hear from CASA and other immigrant organizations involved. We do expect them to probably file a class action lawsuit to continue to block Trump's executive order, finally sending it to the Supreme Court based on constitutionality. And I'll leave you from a quote from Justice Jackson. The court's decision to permit the executive to violate the Constitution with respect to anyone who has not yet sued is an existential threat to the rule of law.
You're seriously fucking with the 14th Amendment right now. Oh, hey, liberal snowflake. What's up, man? What's up? Why are you so upset? Birthright citizenship. You're coming after birthright citizenship? The Supreme Court just ruled that Donald Trump can do whatever the fuck he wants with it. Yeah, we're changing the rules. We're changing the rules that your parent, one of them at least, has to be an American citizen. Yep. It's in the 14th Amendment. If you're born here, then you have birthright citizenship. That's why they call it an amendment. See, amendments can be changed. Jesus. So we can just change any amendment we want. What about the Second Amendment? Can we change that one? No, that one you can't. It cannot be infringed. I just want to reach right over there. I cannot believe the words that are coming out of your mouth right now. You know that we are on stolen land. We're all immigrants. Yeah, but like, who cares? That happened a long time ago. Who cares? Probably the people you stole the land from. How are you even going to enforce this? Well, we're probably going to make some laws where it's like retroactive, you know? So like if your parents aren't a native-born American, then also you could be deported as well. You're shitting me, right? So you could be like a 25-year-old living here in the United States that your parents are undocumented, and also that basically makes you not a citizen anymore, and you just get kicked back? Yeah, basically. The Supreme Court also ruled that it's okay to send them back to whatever country, even if that's not their origin. I don't see anything wrong with that. Because you're an asshole. Look, how about this? We will just leave it up to the states. Fine, California allows everybody to come on in. No, you can't do that. Yep, your states' rights. That's just what you said, right? We're just going to allow California to have all these people come on in. Doesn't matter at all. A National Guard cannot detain them and take them out of the country. But like, you'd be violating what Trump wants to do. States' rights. Go fuck yourself. I just don't think you understand that immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country. Bite me.
Well, they did it. The Supreme Court just ruled not on the constitutional basis of the executive order against birthright citizenship, but instead on the ability of federal courts to issue injunctions to block the effects of this executive order, which means that the executive order against birthright citizenship can go into effect in different parts of the country. So again, this ruling was not addressing the major issue and question as to whether or not this executive order is constitutional or not. This ruling limits the power of federal judges to block the impacts of this executive order. And this effectively means that Trump and his administration are now able to define what birthright citizenship looks like and means through their executive orders and through executive orders coming down the line. This is one of the most impactful rulings we've seen this court issue in a 6-3 vote. It's also one of the most concerning because some of us know the history of birthright citizenship and what that means. But also, when you allow people to define and redefine what birthright citizenship looks like based on their own agenda, not constitutionally, but based on how they feel and what they deem correct according to their plans in Project 2025, this is dangerous. This is extremely dangerous. So again, just for clarity, they did not rule on whether or not this executive order was constitutional or not. They ruled to limit the power of federal judges to block the impacts of this order, which means that in certain parts of the country, this order will go into effect.
So the Supreme Court has just given Trump a big win when it comes to birthright citizenship. In a 6-3 ruling in Trump v. Casa, the Supreme Court gave Trump the green light to move forward with one of his most controversial executive orders, and it's got massive implications for immigration, along with citizenship and executive power. So the order in question is Executive Order 14160, and the opinion is by Justice Amy Coney Barrett. So the court didn't rule on whether the executive order itself is unconstitutional. What they actually ruled on is whether lower courts can block federal policies for everyone in the country, not just people who sue. And the court said no. The executive order at the center of this case redefines who gets U.S. citizenship at birth, excluding some children born in the U.S. if their parents aren't legal residents. And lower courts had blocked it nationwide. They call it nationwide injunctions. But the Supreme Court just overruled them, allowing the order to take effect for millions of people who aren't directly part of that lawsuit. In short, if the individuals don't sue, the lawsuit can still affect them even if it's unconstitutional. I'll probably be dropping a more in-depth explanation of this ruling in my email newsletter. It's free. The link to that is in my bio. Just go to my profile, click the link, drop your email in, and you'll be good to go. That's all I got for now. I'll see you in the next one.
Breaking news, the conservative Supreme Court in our country has completely destroyed the Constitution. The Supreme Court gives Trump a major victory in birthright citizenship, one of the most important things that we have in this country. In a 6-3 ruling, which, by the way, Trump appointed 3 of those justices. So the Supreme Court, which is mostly made up of conservative justices, by the way, is not non-biased whatsoever. It now allows him to end birthright citizenship in some parts of the country. By the way, all of this is just blatantly unconstitutional. This violates the 14th Amendment, birthright citizenship, which we've had in this country for a while now. And it limits nationwide injunctions made by judges. So, completely destroying what we have in this country, had in this country, checks and balances. Will now require an individual plaintiff to bring this forward to a court. So making people, individually affected by this, they have to do it themselves and find an attorney to do this, which is extremely difficult to do. And knowing how this country treats immigrants and, the children of immigrants, I don't really think they're going to make it a top priority to actually inform people of their legal rights and that they can do this if they are affected. So you see the issue with it, right? The American experiment is just over. It's literally over. The Constitution means nothing now. By the way, at the end, I'm just going to leave this here. It only takes around 3.5% of an entire population of a country through civil disobedience and mass protests to achieve their objectives and to actually bring forward a political revolution. So I think that's pretty necessary now in these times as, again, the rule of law and Constitution means nothing now. So yeah, just going to leave that there. I think it's needed.
Every time that birthright citizenship is mentioned, I have to bring up the 14th Amendment. And the history of the 14th Amendment is that it was established in order to make former slaves humans under the law. All black people, right? Because remember, they were fractions of people or they were property, right? Some people say that, not like most countries don't have birthright citizenship. We should be so lucky and feel so fortunate that the US actually allows that to happen. Well, most countries were not fucking founded by slavery in their entirety. And this was a recognition of the people who built this country to make them people. If you think about it, the 13th Amendment was created to end slavery. But there was a little clause that was like, actually, everyone's free unless they're a criminal, right? So what do you think we have such a crazy prison industrial complex and mostly black people end up in it. Because now we get free slavery out of it. So that ability to say that some people are human and some people are subhuman, that's essentially what's happening with taking away birthright citizenship right now. So if you think that you're safe, if you think that you are fine, because you were born in the States or you're not a criminal, it just means that you're next. You're not safe, you're next. They are going to keep reducing the label of what it means to be human under the law. You're going to get your rights taken away, your due process rights, they can basically kidnap you in the middle of the night and disappear you. That was happening with slaves, right? Because they weren't considered people. So if you think this is cool, humane, to let more humans be demonized, sorry to break it to you, but they're coming for you next.
So the Supreme Court just handed a major W to the Trump administration where they made a ruling that he could proceed forward with his plan to end birthright citizenship. I do see some people going around trying to report that this decision itself is what's going to end birthright citizenship. It's not. That's not what this does. As of right now, it still stands, but multiple states were trying to challenge the Trump administration on their plan to end it, and this court says that they cannot do that, and it narrows the scope of what they are able to do. This is absolutely incredible news, because we are one of the very few first world countries that is stupid enough to have allowed this for so long. If anything, all it does is incentivizes people to break our laws, to cross our border knowing that they're not supposed to in order to have their child on American land. Something that plenty of people have done in the past, knowing that it would instantly grant their child citizenship even though neither of their parents are citizens. It also lends itself to the argument that they love to use, which is, well, are you really going to separate families? No, you guys can be deported together now. Congratulations. You do not get to come here and have an anchor baby and think that now all of a sudden the laws don't apply to you. We have plenty of Americans who are struggling to make ends meet as is, especially with their own children. We don't need to take care of yours either. America does not exist to be the world's baby daddy. I'm so sorry about it.
So you've likely heard the unfortunate news that Trump has won. He has gotten what he wants. Birthright citizenship has completely changed for how we know it, and it's only going to get worse. In the next 30 days, being born in America alone is not going to be enough for you to be considered an American citizen, nor is it going to be enough for you to be protected under the Constitution, meaning both your parents would have to be American citizens as well, or at the very least have a green card. You are now no longer able to give birth to a child and have that child automatically have American citizenship. Now, of course, we know this goes directly against the 14th Amendment. We don't have to go into that. But like I've said before, this is a terrifying foreshadowing to the future of America, because if this constitutional right can be stripped away within the first 6 months of this man being in office, what do you think the next 4 years is going to entail, realistically? You guys looked at people like me that said that this man is going to try and run for the third term. You guys looked at us and said that we were crazy, we were being hyperbolic. We were fear-mongering. Meanwhile, this man is literally making the rules as he goes along, and he's getting away with it. If a civil war doesn't break out within America within the next 5 years, I'll be very surprised, because the amount of civil rights have been stripping away from people day in, day out is actually alarming for nobody to do anything about it.
Did y'all know the Supreme Court just ruled in favor of Trump? So if you are born in the Americas, and your parents were not born in the Americas and are not citizens, you've got to go. I'm just thoroughly appalled by this shit. The Supreme Court is supposed to uphold the Constitution, and they're not at all. That goes directly against the Fourth Amendment. A 6-3 ruling allows President Trump to end birthright citizenship in some parts of the country, but stop the order from taking effect for 30 days. What is 30 days going to do? A 6-3 decision. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Someone in the comments said, what is he going to have ICE agents at the birthing unit in the hospital? What are we going to do?